the wind drifts gently across the tundra. A hush falls upon the open plains of Skyrim, a land both ancient and alive, breathing softly beneath the pale northern moons. Above, the sky stretches endlessly, painted with ribbons of green and violet light. They shimmer and dance, whispering stories that only the old gods remember. Beneath that eternal sky lies Whiterun, the beating heart of Skyrim. It stands upon a rise, surrounded by open fields and quiet rivers, its stone walls catching the last warmth of the dying sun. From a distance, it seems timeless, a city carved not merely by hands, but by history itself. It has watched centuries pass, and still it stands, proud, patient, and unwavering. Tonight, traveler, we will walk its silent streets. We will follow the wind through its market, past its halls and temples, and up toward the great keep that crowns the hill, Dragon's Reach. And as we wander, the stories of Whiterun will unfold like a long-forgotten song, the tales of its people, its kings, and its quiet endurance through ages of fire and frost. The plains around Whiterun are unlike any other place in Skyrim. To the north, cold winds flow down from the mountains, sharp and clear, carrying the scent of snow and pine. To the south, the land softens into golden grasslands that sway gently like the sea. The light here is strange. It changes with every hour, painting the tundra in shades of amber, silver, and violet. It is a place of contrasts, wild yet peaceful, open yet deeply sacred. Old Nords say that the land remembers. They believe that every gust of wind, every stone, carries the memory of those who once walked here. When the breeze rustles through the tall grass, it is said to echo the footsteps of heroes long gone. And when thunder rolls across the plains, they say it is the voice of Kinnereth, goddess of the sky, calling to her children. Whiterun's name itself tells a story. In the ancient tongue, it carries meanings that are now partly lost, perhaps drawn from white for purity or snow, and run for the flowing of the rivers that cut through the land. Others believe it refers to the white mists that rise at dawn, running along the foothills like ghosts of the past. Whatever the truth, it is a name that suits the place, a name shaped by wind, water, and memory. From afar, Whiterun rises gently from the plain, its walls modest yet strong. 3 great districts form the city: the Plains District, where the common folk live and trade; the Wind District, home to the Temple of Kinnereth and the Great Hall of Jorrvaskr; and the Cloud District, where Dragon's Reach looms high above all. The city itself feels alive. Its narrow alleys hum with quiet life, and its stones seem to hum softly with the echoes of generations. At night, when the torches flicker along the walls and the sky above glows with aurora, Whiterun feels eternal. It is neither wholly of men nor of gods. It exists somewhere between. Perhaps that is why so many travelers find peace here. Even in times of war, Whiterun has remained neutral, a haven for those seeking rest between journeys or meaning between battles. It is said that the gods watch over this city more closely than any other in Skyrim. Some believe it is because of its central position. It lies between east and west, north and south, a crossroads of both land and spirit. Others whisper that it is because of what lies above it, the throat of the world, the mountain of the gods. From the high walls of Dragon's Reach, one can see its peak piercing the heavens, eternal and unmoving. In its shadow, Whiterun thrives, humble yet somehow divine. The night deepens. A soft wind carries the sound of distant water, the river that curves gently along the edge of the hold. Somewhere, a lone wolf howls across the tundra, its voice echoing through the stillness. The stars shimmer like frost, countless and cold, watching over the land as they have since the dawn of time. And in that stillness, one can almost hear the breath of Skyrim itself, the ancient rhythm of a world that refuses to die. For thousands of years, this land has seen empires rise and fall. The snow has buried kingdoms, and the sun has thawed them again. Dragons have ruled the skies, and men have fought beneath them. But through it all, Whiterun has endured. Neither the grandest city nor the mightiest fortress, but something far greater, a symbol of balance. Between north and south, between war and peace, between gods and men. If you listen closely, you might still hear the echoes of the first settlers, the Atmorans, who crossed the Sea of Ghosts and built their first homes on this land. Their songs were simple, sung to the rhythm of the wind. They spoke of courage, of family, of the earth that gave them life. And when they died, their spirits were said to drift into the clouds, carried away by the breath of Kinnereth herself. Even now, when the night is quiet and the world stands still, you can feel that breath. It moves through the streets, through the tall grass, and over the stone walls. It whispers through the banners that hang from Dragon's Reach, and through the torches that guard the city gates. It speaks softly, as if reminding Whiterun, and all who live within, that nothing in Skyrim is truly lost, only transformed. The people of Whiterun have a saying, "The wind carries truth, and the earth remembers." It is more than poetry. To them it is faith, a belief that even when life ends, its memory lingers in the world. That is why they build with stone, carve their stories into wood, and light their hearths each night, to keep the memory of warmth alive through the endless winter. And perhaps that is why Whiterun feels so human. Because it is not merely a city of stone and fire, it is a city of remembrance. The horses in the stables stir as dawn approaches. Their breath rises in silver clouds, mingling with the mist. Somewhere, a guard shifts his weight, stamping his boots against the cold. The first light of morning creeps over the plains, spilling gold across the rooftops and fields. The world awakens, slowly, peacefully, as if even the sun itself hesitates to disturb the calm, and as light touches Dragon's Reach, the city glows. Its walls catch the fire of dawn, and the banners of Whiterun ripple gently in the wind. The air smells of frost, hay, and distant smoke. Life stirs again, traders ready their goods, the blacksmith's forge begins to hum, and the day begins anew. But beneath it all, the spirit of the night lingers, quiet, watchful, eternal. The land still hums with the weight of ages, and the stories of Whiterun, like the wind, continue to drift across the plains, unseen but never forgotten. And so begins our journey, through Whiterun, its people and its legends, a city where gods once walked, where dragons once fell, and where the hearts of men still beat beneath the northern sky. The plains of Whiterun stretch wide beneath the open sky, a sea of golden grass rippling with every breath of the wind. Here, the land feels alive. It hums softly beneath your feet, a living memory of the earth itself. From the distant mountains of the north to the winding river that curves like a silver ribbon through the hold, everything moves in quiet harmony. This is the heart of Skyrim, Aisotomara, a place where nature and man have learned, through centuries of hardship, to coexist rather than conquer. The people of Whiterun Hold are children of this balance. They are not rich in gold, nor are their halls adorned with jewels, but they are wealthy in a different way. They know the taste of fresh snowmelt in spring, the warmth of a hearth that has burned through 1,000 winters, and the sound of wind whispering through the tall tundra grass. To them, these are treasures, proof that the gods have not abandoned their children. You will not find the arrogance of city nobles here. The folk of Whiterun Hold are humble, bound to the soil they till and the beasts they raise. Their hands are scarred by labor, their eyes lined by wind and sun. Yet there is pride in their weariness, a quiet strength that comes only from enduring the endless seasons of Skyrim. To the east, farmers rise before dawn to tend to their fields. You can see them from the city walls, small figures moving through the morning mist, their lanterns glowing like fireflies against the gray horizon. They plant hardy grains and tundra wheat, crops that can survive even the chill breath of winter. Their oxen move slowly, patient as the land itself. And when the day is done, they gather around small fires, sharing bread, stories, and songs that have not changed for hundreds of years. Just beyond the southern gates of Whiterun lies the Whiterun stables, where horses graze freely under the open sky. The Nord horses are broad and powerful, bred for endurance rather than speed. Their breath steams in the cold air, and their eyes, calm and dark, seem to hold the wisdom of the land. To the people here, horses are not merely beasts of burden, they are companions, almost kin. There are stories told that the first horses were gifts from Kinnereth, spirits of the wind bound in mortal form, to teach mankind freedom and travel. Whether true or not, the people still whisper a short prayer before mounting a steed, a quiet thank you to the goddess of the sky. Whiterun's traders and merchants are wanderers at heart. They travel between the northern holds, Solitude, Windhelm, and even as far as Markarth, carrying goods across dangerous passes and stormy plains. They bring back spices from the south, furs from the north, and songs from every corner of Skyrim. Many of these merchants find their way to Whiterun because of its position, the crossroads of the province, where every road seems to meet. It is said, all paths in Skyrim lead to Whiterun, and in many ways it is true. In the markets, their voices fill the air like music. You can hear the cry of a vendor selling salted meats, the clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the laughter of children chasing each other between stalls. The smells mingle, roasted venison, leather, mead, and wood smoke. To a traveler resting by the fountain, this simple bustle feels timeless, as if it has always been this way and always will be. Life in Whiterun is neither easy nor cruel. It is steady. The winters are harsh, the summers brief, but the people endure. They build their homes with thick timber and stone, their roofs steep to shed the heavy snow. At night, the smoke from hundreds of hearths drifts upward, merging with the stars. It is a sight that fills the heart with quiet comfort, proof that warmth can exist even at the edge of the frozen world. In the taverns, travelers share stories of dragons and heroes, of gods walking among men. Some of these tales are true, others have grown with each telling, but to the people of Whiterun, truth and legend are one and the same. A story told with conviction, they believe, can shape the world as surely as steel or spell. The Nords who live here hold to the old faith, the reverence of the 9 divines, and above all, Kinnereth, the goddess of air and nature. Her temple stands in the Wind District, a quiet sanctuary of wood and stone. Inside, the air smells faintly of pine and mountain rain. The faithful come not to ask for miracles, but to give thanks for the harvest, for safe journeys, for the breath in their lungs. The priests teach that the sky itself is Kinnereth's gift. Every gust of wind, every drop of rain, every breath drawn by living things. It is said that she blessed the first Nords who landed on the shores of Tamriel, filling their sails with her wind and guiding them to their destiny. And so, even now, when the people of Whiterun lift their faces to the breeze, they are not merely feeling the weather, they are touching the divine. Beyond faith, there is philosophy, the Nord way of seeing life. It is simple and unpretentious, but profoundly wise. They believe that strength is not measured by might alone, but by endurance. That honor is not in victory, but in persistence. And that life, like the mountains around them, may bend beneath the wind, but must never break. An old farmer once said, "We are born of the frost, so we learn to be fire." And there is truth in those words. In every corner of Whiterun Hold, from the smallest village to the great city itself, you will find fire, in hearths, in hearts, in the unspoken will to endure. It is this quiet resilience that gives Whiterun its soul. Unlike the stone towers of Solitude or the frozen palaces of Windhelm, Whiterun's strength lies not in grandeur, but in balance. Its people are not warriors by birth, though many become heroes by choice. They are shepherds, smiths, traders, and wanderers, ordinary souls bound together by extraordinary endurance. When you walk through the plains, you might pass a lone guard standing watch by the road. His armor is worn, his eyes tired, yet he stands tall against the cold. He does not guard treasure, nor does he wait for glory. He guards peace. And in a land like Skyrim, that may be the greatest heroism of all. In the distance, the White River glimmers beneath the fading light. It winds its way down from the mountains, circling the hold like a silver thread. The river is the lifeblood of Whiterun. It feeds the soil, quenches the herds, and sings softly through the night. Some say it is sacred, blessed by Kinnereth herself. Others believe that its waters remember, carrying whispers of old battles, old prayers, and old love. Whatever the truth, the people treat the river with reverence. Children toss flowers into it during midsummer festivals, and travelers wash their hands in it before entering the city as a gesture of respect. It is not a law nor a ritual bound by priests. It is simply what feels right. In Whiterun, tradition is not forced. It grows naturally, like the grass beneath the snow. Everywhere in the hold, one can feel the presence of both past and present intertwined. Ruins of ancient Nord barrows rise like ghosts from the hills, their stones covered in moss and frost. Farmers plow their fields beside them, their oxen unbothered by the silent watchers. To them, the dead are not to be feared. They are part of the land, guardians of memory. And when the wind moves through the standing stones, it is as if the ancestors themselves are sighing softly through time. As dusk falls again, the plains of Whiterun glow gold under the last light. Smoke curls gently from distant chimneys. You can hear the faint echo of a lute carried by the wind, a bard singing to the coming night. The world slows, as if the land itself is exhaling. Here, in this place between mountains and sky, between past and present, the people of Whiterun live their simple lives. They rise with the dawn, they rest with the stars, and in their hearts burns the quiet certainty that they are part of something eternal. Not a kingdom, not an empire, but a world, old, vast, and alive. And so, as the stars return to the northern sky, the plains of Whiterun fall silent once more. The land sleeps, its people dreaming of the harvest to come and of the gods who watch from the heavens. In their dreams, perhaps, they walk again through golden grass, beneath skies that have never forgotten them. High above the streets of Whiterun, where the city narrows and the air grows colder, a wooden bridge rises toward the clouds. Its planks creak softly beneath your feet, and every step seems to echo across the city below. At the end of that path stands the great hall known as Dragon's Reach, a fortress unlike any other in Skyrim. It is said that when the sun sets behind the throat of the world, its light catches the roof of Dragon's Reach, setting it aflame with gold. From afar, it seems as though the hall itself is burning with divine fire, a beacon for travelers, a monument to both mortal craftsmanship and divine inspiration. Dragon's Reach was built long before memory, in the days when dragons still ruled the skies and men trembled beneath their wings. The old stories tell us that King Olaf One-Eye, the Jarl of Whiterun in the ancient days, commanded its construction. He was no mere warlord. He was a man who dared to defy dragons, to stand against the oldest and most powerful beings of the world. It is said that Olaf captured a dragon within this very hall. With cleverness and courage, he lured the beast into the great chamber and trapped it beneath the high wooden beams. Some versions say it was the dragon Numenex, whose name echoes even now in the carvings that crown the roof. Others whisper that it was another, long forgotten by history. The truth may never be known. But what remains certain is that this act became legend, and that Dragon's Reach was forever marked by its name. The architecture of Dragon's Reach reflects this duality, part fortress, part temple. Its long hall rises high like a cathedral, its timbers carved with ancient runes and dragon motifs. The roof curves upward, sweeping like the wings of a beast frozen in mid-flight. At night, the torches flicker along its arches, casting shifting shadows that resemble scales. It is as if the hall itself breathes, alive with memory, built to remind men of both fear and triumph. Every beam and pillar was shaped by hand, using tools blessed by the priests of Kinnereth. The Nords believe wood is sacred, the living bone of the world. By carving their hall from timber rather than stone, Olaf's craftsmen honored the sky and the wind, leaving Dragon's Reach open to both. When the breeze moves through its rafters, it sings, a low hum that mingles with the crackle of fire, a sound like the voice of Skyrim itself. Some scholars suggest that Dragon's Reach was more than a fortress. They believe it was built as a symbol of man's covenant with the gods, a promise that mortals could rise beyond fear and that dragons, though divine, were not untouchable. In this view, Dragon's Reach becomes not a trophy hall, but a sanctuary, a reminder that courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to face it. Standing within the hall, you feel that truth. The vastness of the space humbles you. The ceiling rises like the inside of a great beast's rib cage. The walls are lined with shields and tapestries depicting long-forgotten battles, and at the far end, upon a raised dais, sits the Jarl's throne, carved from the heartwood of a fallen tree, simple yet commanding. It is said that when the Jarl sits there, his voice carries across the hall like thunder over the plains. Today, Jarl Balgruuf the Greater sits upon that throne. He is a man of patience and restraint, traits not common among Nords. In him, the people see the balance of Whiterun itself, strength tempered by thought, courage guided by wisdom. He rules not with a heavy hand, but with quiet authority. Even those who disagree with his choices speak of him with respect, for he listens before he commands. Balgruuf's hall is never silent. Messengers come and go, guards report from the frontiers, and advisors whisper of politics and war. But even amid this constant motion, there is a sense of calm purpose, as though Dragon's Reach itself imposes order upon chaos. The Jarl's children play in the corner, their laughter softening the air. The great fire pit burns steadily, filling the hall with warmth and the scent of pine. And above it all, the ancient beams hold fast, as they have for centuries. Behind the throne lies the balcony of Dragon's Reach, a narrow platform overlooking the endless plains. From here, one can see the entire hold, the river winding through the grasslands, the far-off mountains crowned in snow, and the faint shimmer of distant villages. It is said that when the wind blows across this balcony, the Jarl can hear the voice of Kinnereth herself. Some believe it is only the wind whistling through the wood, but others have felt the whisper, soft, gentle, like the breath of a god. At night, when the fires burn low and the court falls silent, Balgruuf sometimes stands there alone. The guards say he looks toward the throat of the world, where the sky meets the mountain, as though waiting for an answer. Perhaps he seeks wisdom, or perhaps forgiveness, for even the wise must bear the weight of choices that shape nations. There is a deep unspoken reverence in Dragon's Reach. Though it is a place of politics, it is also a place of reflection. Many who have served here speak of the hall as alive, a presence that watches, listens, remembers. When storms roll over the city, the wind howls through the rafters, and for a moment, one can almost believe that the old dragon still sleeps above. Some even say that the hall groans when war approaches, that its beams shudder in warning, as though the spirit of the captured beast resists the coming of bloodshed. Whether this is truth or superstition, no one can say. But the idea persists that Dragon's Reach is more than timber and nail. It is a vessel of memory holding the breath of ages. The lore of Olaf One-Eye and his dragon has been debated for centuries. The Bard's College of Solitude holds songs that praise him as a hero who freed Skyrim from tyranny. Yet old scrolls found in the depths of the College of Winterhold suggest a more complex story, that Olaf's victory may not have been as noble as legend claims. Some evidence hints that he used deceit, not valor, to trap the dragon, that his songs were composed not to honor truth, but to secure his legacy. If so, what does Dragon's Reach truly symbolize? Is it triumph or hubris, a monument to courage or a warning against pride? Perhaps, as with many things in Skyrim, it is both. It might mean that the line between hero and deceiver is as thin as the mist that drifts through the plains, shifting with time and with the eyes of those who tell the story. In this way, Dragon's Reach becomes not merely a hall, but a mirror, reflecting the duality of men who would challenge gods. Even now, the hall continues to serve as the heart of Whiterun's governance. Advisors debate, soldiers report, and the court wizard, Farengar's secret fire, conducts his experiments in the chambers above. The faint scent of alchemical smoke often drifts through the hall, mingling with incense and mead. Sometimes, late at night, strange lights flicker from Farengar's quarters, soft pulses of blue and green that fade before dawn. The guards joke that even the spirits of Dragon's Reach are curious about his work. And perhaps they are. For this hall has always been a place of power, both mortal and divine. To stand within it is to feel history pressing against your skin, whispering in your ear. It reminds you that greatness is not found in comfort, but in the courage to face what lies beyond the clouds. When the fires dim and the last echoes of footsteps fade, Dragon's Reach returns to silence. The wind moves through the rafters again, carrying the faintest echoes of an ancient roar. The great doors close, the torches die, and for a moment, the hall becomes something more than mortal. It becomes memory. It becomes legend. And as the moonlight filters through its high windows, the hall seems to breathe, slow, steady, eternal. It has stood for centuries through war and peace, through empire and rebellion, and it will stand for centuries more until the world itself forgets the names of kings and dragons. For Dragon's Reach is not only wood and stone, it is the embodiment of Skyrim's soul, proud, enduring, and touched by both glory and regret. In the heart of Whiterun, Dragon's Reach stands watch, a hall above the clouds, guarding not just the city below, but the very memory of what it means to be human beneath the gaze of gods. Beyond the great steps of Dragon's Reach, down the slope of the Wind District, stands a hall older than any stone in Whiterun. It is made of wood, weathered, scarred, and unyielding, its roof shaped like the hull of a ship turned upside down. The people call it Jorvaskr, and to those who know its story, it is not merely a building, but a relic of legend. It is said that Jorvaskr was once a vessel, the ship that carried Ysgramor and his 500 companions across the Sea of Ghosts, fleeing the elves of Atmora after the Night of Tears. When they landed upon the shores of Skyrim, they turned that ship upside down and made it their home. Over centuries, it became a hall, and then a symbol, a reminder that, even in exile, courage can be rebuilt from the ashes of loss. The companions who dwell within these walls are not knights, nor soldiers bound by kings or crowns. They are warriors of honor, bound by oath, not by blood, by spirit, not by law. Their order predates the empire itself, older even than the city that now surrounds them. Where others build armies, the companions build character. Where others seek conquest, they seek meaning through struggle. At the head of their order sits the Harbinger, not a ruler, but a guide, one who leads by wisdom rather than command. Among them, no man or woman is greater than another, save for their deeds. Their code is simple: live well, fight bravely, and die with honor. Inside Jorvaskr, the air smells of mead and smoke, of steel and sweat. The long fire pit burns constantly, its light dancing across the wooden beams. On the walls hang shields and weapons from 100 battles, each one a story, each scar a memory. At the tables, warriors share laughter, debate, and drink. They argue fiercely, but fight more fiercely still. And when the day's boasting ends, they raise their mugs to the same cause, brotherhood. To an outsider, it may seem chaotic, loud, unrefined, rough. But beneath that noise lies discipline, loyalty, and an unspoken tenderness. Each of them, no matter how proud, carries the weight of those who fell before them. They honor their dead not with mourning, but with living, as if to say that the greatest tribute to courage is to keep breathing, keep fighting, keep laughing, no matter how heavy the years become. In the center of the hall stands a great table of oak, worn smooth by time. Here the companions gather to eat, to plan, and to remember. It is said that the table's surface has absorbed centuries of stories, that if one were to press an ear against it, they might hear the echoes of ancient voices, whispering of glory and loss. Above the table hangs the axe of Ysgramor, the legendary weapon of their founder. No one knows if it is the true weapon or a replica. Perhaps even the companions themselves have forgotten, but its presence carries meaning beyond certainty. It reminds them that their strength was born from the courage of one man who refused to surrender to the darkness of the sea. The Companions' Hall has endured countless winters and wars. It has been burned, rebuilt, and blessed anew. Its spirit endures because it is bound to the idea of return, the eternal journey from death to honor. They call it the Way of the Warrior, though it is less about combat than about conviction. Many come to Whiterun seeking to join them. Some are young and eager, dreaming of glory. Others are weary, seeking redemption for deeds they cannot undo. All are tested, not by trials of strength alone, but by humility. For the companions believe that true courage begins with the willingness to kneel before something greater than oneself. At the heart of their philosophy lies a paradox, one that few outside the order truly understand. The companions speak often of the wolf. To them, it is both symbol and shadow, the embodiment of freedom, loyalty, and the wildness that dwells in all men. But it is also a curse. For deep beneath Jorrvaskr lies a secret chamber, a place where the firelight fades and the air grows cold. There, the inner circle of the companions, gather to honor an ancient pact made long ago with the Daedric prince Hircine, Lord of the Hunt. In exchange for great strength and vitality, they bear the beast blood, the ability to take the form of wolves. It is both gift and burden. When the moon rises full, their hearts stir with a primal hunger. They fight to keep their humanity, to remember who they are. And though many see the curse as shameful, the companions accept it as part of their path. For in their struggle between man and beast lies the essence of the warrior's soul, the eternal battle between control and chaos. The late Kodlak Whitemane, once harbinger of the companions, believed that this curse could be undone. He taught that valor lies not in dominance over others, but in mastery of oneself. Strength, he would say, means nothing if you do not choose when to use it. To Kodlak, the beast blood was a lesson, a reminder that even power must serve purpose. He sought redemption, not for himself alone, but for all who carried the burden of Hircine's gift. His passing is remembered in quiet reverence. On the night of his funeral, the companions lit torches and stood beneath the open sky. The flames flickered like the eyes of wolves, and their howls echoed into the night, not of grief, but of respect. It is said that the wind carried those howls all the way to Sovngarde, the Hall of Heroes, where Kodlak's spirit found peace. When you walk past Jorrvaskr at dawn, you can still hear the faint clang of steel echoing from within. The warriors train from sunrise to sunset, their movements precise, their focus unwavering. To them, combat is not chaos, it is meditation. Each swing of the blade is a prayer, each parry a conversation with death. They do not fight for power or coin. They fight to remember what it means to be alive. Outside in the courtyard stands a massive tree, its branches gnarled and twisted by age. The companions say it sprouted from a seed carried by Ysgramor himself, a symbol of resilience. Its roots reach deep into the ground, entwined with the foundations of Jorrvaskr, binding the living to the dead. When the wind moves through its leaves, it sounds almost like the rustling of armor, as though the ghosts of the 500 are still standing watch. In many ways, Jorrvaskr mirrors Whiterun itself. Both are places of balance between the wild and the civilized, the mortal and the divine. The companions are warriors, yet philosophers, cursed yet noble, flawed yet striving toward honor. They remind the people of Skyrim that strength is not about conquest or bloodshed, but about the courage to carry one's burdens with dignity. Some say that the spirit of Ysgramor still lingers here. At night, when the hall grows quiet and the fires dim, the sound of footsteps can sometimes be heard, slow, deliberate, heavy with the weight of history. A faint shimmer passes across the long table, and the fire burns a little brighter. Whether it is the wind, the spirits, or merely imagination, no one dares to dismiss it. For in a hall built from the bones of legend, even the whispers of ghosts command respect. If you stand outside Jorrvaskr as the moon rises, you can see the light from its windows spilling onto the stone steps. It glows amber against the night, warm and steady, a promise that courage still lives here. The sounds from within, laughter, the clink of mugs, the murmur of voices, drift out like music. To the weary traveler, it is an invitation. To the fearful, a comfort. To the proud, a challenge. And as you walk away, the last sound you hear is not of battle or song, but of the steady, rhythmic crackle of the fire, the heart of Jorrvaskr, burning on through the ages. Here, in this Hall of Heroes, the story of Whiterun deepens, for its strength does not come from stone or sword, but from the hearts of those who choose to fight not for glory, but for meaning. The city of Whiterun rests in a fragile balance between war and peace, faith and duty, the will of men and the decree of gods. It is said that Whiterun has always been a city of crossroads, not just in geography, but in spirit. Here, every road in Skyrim seems to meet, and with them every belief, every allegiance, every conflict that shapes the north. In the daylight, that balance looks unshakable. The marketplace hums with life, the children laugh in the streets, and the banners of the city flutter proudly above the gates. But beneath that surface lies tension, quiet, restrained, yet heavy as the mountains. You can feel it in the silence of the guards, in the careful tone of the merchants, in the way the wind seems to pause as it moves between the temple and the palace. At the center of Whiterun's spiritual life stands the Temple of Kinnereth, a sanctuary of peace amid the storm of ideology. Its doors are always open, its candles always burning. Within its wooden walls, the scent of pine and rain fills the air, and the faint sound of prayer hums like wind through leaves. Here, no banners hang, no soldiers stand guard, only the goddess of air, watching through the light that filters softly through the roof beams. The temple's caretaker, Danica Purespring, tends to the sick and weary. Her voice is calm, her eyes steady. She speaks little of politics, for to her, the divine is not a weapon, but a balm. She teaches that Kinnereth's breath moves through all things, from the storm over the throat of the world to the lungs of a newborn child. Her faith is quiet, patient, and enduring, a reflection of Whiterun itself. And yet, even in this place of serenity, division whispers at the edges, for beyond the temple walls, another god is spoken of in hushed tones, Talos, once man, now divine, whose worship is forbidden by the empire that rules the land. The ban on Talos worship is a wound that cuts deep across Skyrim. For the Nords, Talos is not merely a god, he is their god. Tiber Septim, the mortal who rose from the north to become a god through conquest and destiny. To deny his divinity is to deny the soul of Skyrim itself. But the White Gold Concordat, the treaty that ended the Great War between the Empire and the Aldmeri Dominion, forbids his worship. The elves of the Dominion see Talos as an insult, a man who claimed divinity, a threat to their ancient order. The Empire, weary of bloodshed, agreed to the ban, and so a silent rebellion was born in the hearts of men. In Whiterun, this tension is not shouted from the rooftops. It lingers in the quiet corners of taverns, in the sidelong glances between guards, in the hesitant prayers whispered when no one is watching. To some, the Temple of Kinnereth feels incomplete without the statue of Talos that once stood beside it. To others, neutrality is the only path that can keep the city from falling into ruin. Jarl Balgruuf the Greater stands at the center of this storm, a man pulled in two directions, between faith and duty, between the will of his people and the demands of the Empire. He is no tyrant, no zealot, but a cautious thinker. He believes that Whiterun's strength lies in balance, and so he has chosen a path that few others dare to walk: neutrality. To many it seems cowardice, to others wisdom, but for Balgruuf it is survival. He listens to both sides, to the envoys of the Empire who bring promises of order, and to the Stormcloak rebels who speak of freedom and blood. He allows no banners but his own to fly over Dragon's Reach, for he knows that the moment he chooses, Whiterun will cease to be a city of peace. It will become a battleground. The people whisper that Balgruuf is haunted by his choice. At night, they say, he stands on the balcony of Dragon's Reach, looking out across the plains, watching the fires of distant camps burn on the horizon. He hears the howls of wolves and wonders which pack will reach his gates first. Perhaps he knows that neutrality is a thread stretched too thin, that soon it will snap. And yet, he endures, for he believes in Whiterun, in the idea that a city can be a bridge, not a wall. He tells his advisors, Skyrim's strength lies not in choosing sides, but in remembering what we fight for. And so he waits, hoping that wisdom might prevail where swords would only fail. Within the walls, the people navigate this divide in their own quiet ways. Some light candles for Talos in hidden corners of their homes, their prayers whispered like secrets carried by the wind. Others kneel openly at Kinnereth's altar, asking only for the strength to survive another winter. A few, weary of gods and kings alike, find faith only in themselves, in work, in family, in the turning of the seasons. It is said that Whiterun's neutrality is not just political, it is spiritual. It reflects a deeper truth of the Nord heart, the desire to live free, unbound by decree or dogma. For the Nords, faith is personal. It does not need temples or treaties to exist. It lives in the wind, in the fire, in the strength of a hand that lifts another from the cold. Yet even balance carries its own danger. There are those who see neutrality as weakness, who believe that standing between two fires will only burn you from both sides. The Stormcloaks, led by Ulfric Stormcloak of Windhelm, accuse Balgruuf of betrayal, of turning his back on Skyrim's true gods. They see Whiterun's silence as complicity, a refusal to honor the blood of Nords spilled in defiance of the elves. Meanwhile, Imperial loyalists whisper that Whiterun cannot be trusted, that its neutrality masks rebellion. In such times, truth becomes a shadow, shifting with every flicker of torchlight. No one knows where justice lies, only that peace grows thinner with every passing season. One evening, as the sun sets behind the throat of the world, a priest of Kinnereth and an old Nord soldier meet on the steps of the temple. They speak softly, their voices blending with the sigh of the wind. "Tell me, priest," says the soldier, his voice roughened by age and war, "if the gods watch us, why do they not speak?" The priest smiles, faint and sad. "Perhaps they do, but we have forgotten how to listen." The soldier nods, staring toward Dragon's Reach. And if the gods are silent, then what of men? The priest places a hand on his shoulder. Then we must speak with kindness until they remember our voices. They part without another word, yet something in the air feels lighter, as if for a moment the city itself sighs in relief. In that small exchange lies the truth of Whiterun, a place where conflict meets compassion and belief meets restraint. The people here do not seek conquest, only coexistence. They know that faith, like wind, cannot be forced. It must move freely, or it dies. And so, Whiterun endures. While other cities burn in the fires of war, Whiterun holds its breath, praying that the storm will pass. Some call it naivety, others wisdom, but perhaps it is something greater, hope. The quiet, stubborn belief that even in a world divided by gods and empires, there is still room for peace. When night falls, the temple bells ring softly across the Wind District. Their echoes mingle with the distant howls of wolves and the whispering wind. Inside the temple, Danica lights the final candle, her prayer barely audible. Kinnereth, guide us, not to victory, but to understanding. And as her words fade into the night, the wind rises once more, carrying them beyond the city walls, across the fields and rivers, into the waiting dark. In Whiterun, gods and men walk side by side, each flawed, each yearning for balance. Here, faith does not command the sword, it softens the heart. And in that fragile stillness between heaven and earth, the city keeps its soul. The wind over the plains of Whiterun Hold changes with the seasons, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce, but always true. In peaceful days it carries the scent of grass and distant rain. But in the years of the Civil War, it carried something else, the bitter taste of smoke and sorrow. The war began not in Whiterun, but far to the east, in the snow-clad streets of Windhelm, when Ulfric Stormcloak spoke the words that would divide a nation. He called upon the sons and daughters of Skyrim to rise, to reclaim their god and their freedom from the empire that had bowed to the Aldmeri dominion. To the Nords his voice was a thunderclap, raw, righteous, and full of conviction. To the empire it was treason, and between them stood Whiterun. For a time, the city remained untouched, a lone island of calm amid a sea of growing turmoil. Its people still traded, still laughed, still prayed beneath the open sky. But as the months passed, war crept closer. Refugees began to arrive, farmers from Falkreath, miners from the Reach, families carrying what little they could. They spoke of burned villages and empty halls, of brothers fighting brothers under banners of blue and red. Whiterun took them in, as it always had, but even compassion carries weight, and soon the city began to strain under the burden of a war it had not yet chosen to join. Inside Dragon's Reach, Jarl Balgruuf wrestled with a decision that could not be delayed. Both sides sought his allegiance. The Imperial Legion, led by General Tullius, urged him to honor the Empire and preserve order. The Stormcloaks, through Ulfric's envoys, demanded he stand for Skyrim's freedom. Balgruuf listened to both, but swore to neither. He said simply, "Whiterun will not be the spark that sets Skyrim aflame." But even neutrality has a cost. The Empire grew impatient, the Stormcloaks distrustful. And within the city, whispers began. Questions about loyalty, about faith, about what kind of man could stand still while his homeland tore itself apart. One night, a messenger arrived at Dragon's Reach, his armor scorched and his eyes hollow. He carried news from the Pale, a Stormcloak victory, and with it, a warning. War was coming westward. Before long, the banners of the rebels would be seen on the horizon. Balgruuf sent word to Proventus Avenici, his steward, to prepare defenses, not out of choice, but necessity. For Whiterun's neutrality, long maintained, had reached its end. War had come to the heart of Skyrim. The siege began at dawn. The plains, once golden, were veiled in mist and ash. From the city walls, the guards saw shadows moving through the fog, hundreds of them, carrying blue banners and war horns carved from mammoth tusks. The Stormcloaks advanced in silence, their breath misting in the cold air, their eyes burning with conviction. For them, Whiterun was not an enemy. It was a prize, a symbol. Whoever held Whiterun held Skyrim's heart. The first arrows fell like rain. The clang of steel followed, echoing through the plains. But within the city, the people did not scream. They moved quietly, gathering their children, dousing their hearths, and retreating behind doors that had seen too many winters. The streets emptied, save for the guards and soldiers who took their posts along the walls. Inside Dragon's Reach, Balgruuf stood at the balcony overlooking the battle. The fires of war reflected in his eyes, but his voice, when he spoke, was calm. "We will hold the line," he said, "not for the Empire, not for the Stormcloaks, for Whiterun." And so they did. The city that had always sought peace became, for a brief and terrible moment, a fortress. The gates shuddered beneath the weight of rams. The towers burned with flaming pitch, and still the defenders held. Among them fought men and women who had once shared mead with those they now faced, brothers divided by banners, not by hearts. It is said that when the first wall fell, the soldiers hesitated. They looked across the smoke and saw faces they knew. For a heartbeat, the battle paused, not by order, but by grief. Then the horns sounded again, and the storm returned. Throughout the siege, the Temple of Kinnereth remained open. Danica and her priests tended to the wounded, both Imperial and Stormcloak alike. Inside the temple, the air was heavy with incense and the scent of blood. Men who had once cursed each other now lay side by side, whispering prayers to the same gods. One soldier, his voice faint, said, "I fought for freedom." The man beside him replied, "So did I." And then, as the wind sighed through the rafters, both fell silent, their differences fading like smoke. By evening, the battle had reached the Cloud District. The sky burned orange and red, reflecting the fires below. Whiterun's banners were torn, its walls cracked, but the city still stood. From the steps of Dragon's Reach, the guards saw something in the distance. Movement among the smoke, the Stormcloak lines retreating. Word spread quickly. The siege had broken. Balgruuf's forces had held. Whiterun, though scarred, remained free. When the fighting stopped, the silence was deafening. The air smelled of rain and ash. The survivors moved through the streets like ghosts, stepping over the wreckage of their own city. They found comrades and sometimes friends among the fallen, faces both familiar and foreign. It is said that on that night, the fires of Whiterun burned not just for the living, but for the lost. After the siege, Balgruuf walked the streets alone. The people watched from their windows as their Jarl, weary and silent, bent to lift a child's broken toy from the mud. He turned it in his hand for a long while, then set it gently on a step beside a ruined house. Later, when asked what he thought of the war, he said only, "No victory is without grief." In the days that followed, the city began to rebuild. The carpenters worked without rest, mending what they could, burying what they could not. And though the walls were repaired, the wounds within the people remained, invisible but deep. The bards would later sing of the siege of Whiterun as a tale of courage and defiance. They would speak of Balgruuf's leadership, of the bravery of his guards, of the fire that refused to die. But those who lived it remember something quieter. The soft cries in the night, the sound of shovels in the cold earth, the empty chairs at the tables of Jorrvaskr, and the bannered mare. They remember how, even in victory, the city felt smaller, lonelier. And yet life continued. The markets reopened. The children played again. The forges burned once more. The people of Whiterun had learned what all Nords must eventually learn, that the true strength of Skyrim lies not in battle, but in endurance. That peace, fragile though it may be, is worth fighting for, even when it costs everything. In time, the war moved on. The Stormcloaks marched north, the Empire pursued, and Whiterun returned to its uneasy calm. But the scars remained, in the stones, in the people, in the way the city's walls seem to sigh when the wind passes through them. And sometimes, on quiet nights, the guards say they hear it still, the distant echo of horns, the ghostly clatter of shields, the whisper of the wind carrying a single word: home. For that is what Whiterun is, and has always been. Not a fortress, not a prize, but a home. And though it has been tested by fire and shadow, it endures, as all true homes must. In the end, the siege of Whiterun was not a story of conquest or rebellion. It was the story of a city that refused to surrender its soul, a city that stood between gods and men, war and peace, and chose, even in flames, to remain itself. Morning in Whiterun begins not with bells or trumpets, but with the sound of the city breathing again. A low murmur rises from the Plains district, where the market stalls are opening one by one. Wooden shutters creak, barrels roll, and the faint hum of conversation floats upward through the narrow streets. The night's frost still clings to the cobblestones, glimmering like glass under the pale dawn light. It is in these quiet hours that Whiterun feels most alive. The war is distant now, a shadow receding beyond the hills. What remains is what always returns, the pulse of ordinary life, steady and familiar, like the heartbeat of the land itself. At the center of the square stands Belethor's General Goods, its sign swinging gently in the wind. Inside, the air smells faintly of dust, oil, and polished wood. Belethor himself stands behind the counter, smiling with the practiced charm of a man who could sell snow to a Nord in winter. His voice cuts through the noise like a warm blade. "Everything's for sale, my friend, everything. If I had a sister, I'd sell her in a second." The regulars laugh. They've heard the joke 100 times. But that's the point. It's the repetition, the constancy, that comforts them. Belethor's sharp humor, the cluttered shelves, the jingle of coins, these are the sounds of stability. In a world that changes with every war, some things never do. Next door, the scent of herbs and alchemy drifts from Arcadia's cauldron. Inside, shelves bow under the weight of bottles, powders, and scrolls. Arcadia herself moves slowly between them, her robes whispering against the floor. She hums softly as she works, an old Breton lullaby, long since forgotten by its original singer. The locals come to her for potions and poultices, remedies for coughs, for heartbreak, for sleepless nights. Each bottle is a small promise of peace, a way of saying that even pain can be tempered, if only for a while. Arcadia never asks who her customers fought for during the war. To her, wounds are wounds, and healing is its own kind of faith. Sometimes, when the light hits her shop just right, the air glows with the color of 1,000 potions, blues, greens, and golds, like bottled fragments of Skyrim's sky. Across the square, the bannered mare opens its doors. The scent of wood smoke and roasted venison spills into the street. Inside, the fire crackles steadily, painting the walls in warm light. The tavern has always been Whiterun's beating heart, a refuge for wanderers, traders, and dreamers. No matter the season, there's always laughter here, the clink of mugs, the rhythm of stories shared across tables sticky with spilled mead. Behind the counter stands Hulda, the innkeeper, stern but kind, her voice roughened by years of smoke and song. She greets everyone the same way, whether noble or beggar. Need a room, or just a strong drink and a stronger story? Near the fire, the bard Mikael tunes his lute. He smiles too easily, flirts too shamelessly, but when he plays, even the cynics fall silent. His fingers dance over the strings, and the old song begins, Ragnar the Red, the tale every Nord knows by heart. The crowd joins in softly, their voices low but sure, blending like embers rising into the night. As the day unfolds, the city comes fully alive. Children run through the alleys, their laughter echoing off the stone walls. Merchants haggle over prices, guards trade quiet jokes at the gates, and the blacksmith, Adrienne Avenici, hammers rhythmically at her forge outside war maidens. Each strike of her hammer rings like a heartbeat, bright, sharp, alive. Her husband, Ulfberth, stands beside her, sorting weapons and armor with the precision of a man who has seen too much battle to treat it lightly. The two work in silence, their movements practiced, their partnership unspoken but strong. For them, the forge is more than work. It is life, warmth, and purpose. The sparks that leap from the anvil are small suns, reminders that even fire, when guided, can build rather than destroy. The people of Whiterun live by simple truths. They know the rhythm of the seasons, when to sow, when to harvest, when to rest. They measure time not by calendars, but by the color of the sky and the sound of the wind. In the afternoons, when the sun warms the stones and the air hums with quiet activity, you can feel that rhythm, steady, ancient, content. There's an old Nord saying carved above one of the city's gates, "Even the smallest hearth can outlast the storm." It's not just words, it's a belief, a reminder that survival isn't a grand act, but 1,000 small ones. Each loaf of bread, each mended cloak, each shared drink, these are the victories that keep the heart of Whiterun beating. At dusk, the market begins to wind down. The merchants pack their wares, the last coins change hands, and the air cools with the promise of evening. Lanterns flicker to life one by one, casting long, gentle shadows across the square. The city takes a deep breath, settling into its nightly rhythm. Guards make their rounds, their boots clicking softly on the cobblestones. They nod to the bakers closing their shutters, to the children lingering past curfew, to the couples walking hand in hand. In their silence lies a quiet pride, the pride of watching over something worth protecting. Inside the homes, families gather around their hearths. The flames dance on their faces as they share stories of the day. Some talk of the weather, some of crops or prices or rumors from the north. But often, their conversations drift to simpler things. A new foal born at the stables, a friend returning from a journey, a song they can't quite forget. The hearth is sacred in Whiterun. It is more than fire and stone. It is memory. Every home, no matter how humble, keeps its fire burning through the night. To let it go out is to invite cold not just into the body, but into the soul. Even travelers passing through will light a small candle before sleeping, whispering thanks to Kinnereth for another day's breath. If you walk through the city at night, you'll find it transformed. The laughter of the day fades into the soft murmur of distant voices and the crackle of hearth fires. The air cools, carrying the scent of pine and smoke. Somewhere a dog barks once and is answered by another far away. Above it all, the stars burn bright and clear, scattered across the black dome of the sky. From the high balcony of Dragon's Reach, the city looks like a constellation, each window, each lantern, a point of light against the dark. It is said that Kinnereth herself watches over Whiterun on such nights, her breath moving gently through the plains, keeping the fires alive. Perhaps it is only the wind, or perhaps it is something greater, the quiet promise that even in darkness, warmth endures. Not far from the gates, at the edge of the tundra, an old farmer sits by his field. His back is bent, his hands calloused, his face lined by time and weather. He looks toward the city lights and smiles faintly. He remembers the wars, the winters, the losses. And yet, as he watches the smoke rise from the chimneys, he feels at peace. He murmurs softly, "Whiterun still stands." The words are simple, but they carry the weight of centuries. Because Whiterun is not just a city of walls and roofs, it is a living testament to endurance, to the idea that life, however fragile, always finds a way to return. As the night deepens, the last of the market fires fade. The streets empty, the voices grow still, and only the soft sound of the wind remains. In that silence, the city seems to dream, of peace, of laughter, of mornings yet to come. And perhaps if you listen closely, you can hear the heartbeat of Whiterun beneath the stones, slow, steady, eternal. In Whiterun, life is not defined by victory or defeat, but by the quiet grace of endurance. The market, the hearth, the laughter of strangers, these are the city's true treasures, and as long as they remain, Whiterun will never fall. There is a stillness in Whiterun that cannot be explained by walls or wind. It lingers in the spaces between footsteps, in the hush of the plains, in the soft breath that moves through the city at dawn. The Nords call it Kinnereth's breath, the living spirit of the land, the invisible thread that ties all things together. They say it is Kinnereth who shapes the wind that bends the grass, who carries the rain across the tundra, who guides the hawk's flight over the mountains, and though no one has ever seen her, they feel her presence everywhere, in the rivers that sing, in the clouds that gather, in the heartbeat of the world beneath their feet. To the people of Whiterun, she is not a distant goddess to be feared or worshipped from afar. She is kin, a mother, a friend, a whisper on the air. She is the one they thank when the harvest is good, the one they pray to when the sky turns gray. At the heart of Whiterun stands her temple, the Temple of Kinnereth, modest, wooden, and open to the sky. Unlike the stone cathedrals of Cyrodiil, this temple breathes with the world around it. Its walls are made not to contain faith, but to let it flow. Inside, sunlight spills through the gaps between beams, dust motes dancing like tiny spirits in the golden light. The air is cool and smells faintly of pine and wet earth. At the center of the sanctuary stands Danica Pure Spring, the temple's caretaker. Her voice is calm, her presence serene. To many, she is as much a part of the temple as its altar or its bells. She speaks softly, rarely raising her voice, yet her words carry weight, like the wind that shapes mountains, not with force, but with patience. To those who come seeking blessings, she says, Kinnereth teaches us that life is motion. The wind does not cling, nor should we. Her prayers are not commands, but conversations. She does not ask Kinnereth to grant miracles. She simply thanks her for the miracle that already exists, the gift of breath, of sky, of life. Behind the temple, in the open courtyard, stands the Gildergreen, the ancient tree that marks Whiterun's soul. Once, its branches reached high and full, covered in golden leaves that glowed like sunlight even in the darkest winter. Travelers said that to see the Gildergreen was to glimpse a piece of Etherius, the realm of the gods, planted in mortal soil. But now the tree stands weary, its bark cracked, its leaves withered, its once living crown bare against the wind. The people of Whiterun pass it in silence, their eyes downcast. To them, it is not just a dying tree, it is a sign. For when the Gildergreen fades, the land seems to sigh with it. Danica tends to it every day, watering its roots, whispering prayers into its hollow. She has tried everything, spells, blessings, even offerings to the gods, but the tree remains still, silent, waiting. When asked why she persists, she simply replies, because it still stands. And while it stands, there is hope. The lore of the Gildergreen reaches back to the dawn of time. It is said to be a sapling of the Eldergleam, the oldest living thing in all of Skyrim, a sacred tree said to be touched by Kinnereth herself. Deep in the wilderness, the Eldergleam grows beneath a cavern of light, untouched by axe or flame. Its roots stretch into the bones of the earth, and its leaves shimmer with the essence of the divine. Long ago, a pilgrim brought a branch from the Eldergleam to Whiterun as an offering, a gift of life to honor the goddess. From that branch grew the Gildergreen, and for generations it stood as proof that the blessings of Kinnereth could take root even in the heart of a city. But like all living things, it too has aged, and its fading has become a lesson for those who seek to understand life's quiet cycles. Many interpret the tree's decline in their own ways. Some say it mirrors Skyrim itself, weary from war yet still standing. Others see it as a test of faith, a reminder that even the divine can seem distant in times of turmoil. And there are those who whisper that it is not dying, but dreaming, waiting for the day when the wind of Kinnereth will return to wake it once more. Perhaps all are true, perhaps none are. But in the language of Whiterun, truth and belief are not opposites. They are partners in the same dance, each moving with the rhythm of the wind. Danica often walks among the roots of the Gildergreen in the early morning. She kneels, places her hands upon the cracked bark, and listens. She swears she can hear a heartbeat, faint, slow, steady. The tree still remembers, she says. And perhaps it does. For in Skyrim, memory is not bound to the living. It flows through earth and air, carried by Kinnereth's breath across generations. Children come to the courtyard to play around the tree, their laughter ringing through the temple grounds. They tie ribbons to its branches, whisper wishes into its hollow. Even in decay, the Gildergreen remains a place of joy. Because to the people of Whiterun, faith is not about perfection, but persistence. They do not worship because all is well. They worship because they hope it will be again. When storms roll in from the north, the wind howls through the temple like a voice. Some say it is Kinnereth herself, mourning her child. Others hear comfort in it, the sound of cleansing, of renewal. Danica teaches that the storm is not punishment, but reminder. Even the strongest trees must bend before the wind, lest they break. And so the people of Whiterun learn to bend. They endure their losses, rebuild their homes, forgive their enemies. In doing so, they live the teachings of Kinnereth more deeply than any sermon could command. It is said that when the wind is still and the city sleeps, you can stand beneath the Gildergreen and hear whispers, soft as a sigh, ancient as time. They are not words exactly, but memories, fragments of prayers long since spoken, voices of farmers who once prayed for rain, of soldiers who begged for safe return, of lovers who asked for the courage to say goodbye. The tree remembers them all. Its roots are tangled with the hearts of everyone who ever called Whiterun home. Perhaps that is why Danica refuses to let it fall. She says, when the Gildergreen dies, the city will forget how to pray, and so she tends it, not with hope alone, but with devotion, born of love. One evening, as the sun dips behind the throat of the world, the courtyard glows in golden light, the air grows still, and for a single breath everything seems to pause. A gentle wind stirs, not from the north nor the west, but from nowhere at all. It moves through the branches of the Gildergreen, and for the first time in years, a single leaf trembles loose. It drifts slowly to the ground, glowing faintly in the dying light. Danica watches in silence. She kneels, touches the leaf, and smiles. It is not a miracle, not yet, but it is enough. That night, the people of Whiterun light candles in their windows. They do not know why. Perhaps they simply feel it, the change in the air, the faint warmth that was not there before. The wind moves softly through the city, rustling the banners, stirring the smoke from 1,000 chimneys. It carries a scent of rain and earth and distant blossoms. And somewhere, high above, in the unseen sky, the goddess breathes. In Whiterun, faith does not demand proof. It asks only for patience, the patience to listen, the courage to hope, and the humility to let go. For as long as the wind moves, Kinnereth's blessing endures. And in that endless motion, the spirit of the land and the city itself finds peace. Night has fallen over Whiterun. The air is still, the torches flicker, and a quiet hum lingers in the streets. It is a sound you can almost feel, the heartbeat of stories told too many times to forget. For if Whiterun is the heart of Skyrim, then its stories are the blood that keeps it alive. In every tavern, every hearth, every lonely guard post along the road, the people tell their tales. Some are true, some imagined, and some live somewhere between the two, but all belong to the rhythm of this land. To live in Whiterun is to inherit its legends, to breathe its myths, and to sing its songs, even if only in whispers. The Song of Return. It begins, as all Nord tales do, with Ysgramor, the father of their people. His name is spoken like a prayer and a memory. The man who led the 500 companions across the Sea of Ghosts to reclaim Tamriel from the elves. His story is sung not for victory, but for endurance. The bards call it the Song of Return. It tells how Ysgramor's ship, Ilgermet, sailed through storms and frost, guided by the stars and the will of the gods. They say he carved the names of his sons and his warriors into the mast, so that when the sea swallowed them, the gods would know their souls by name. And when they reached Skyrim's shores, they wept, not from sorrow, but from the weight of destiny. From Atmora's ice and endless sea, they came with hearts both fierce and free, with axe and song, with flame and steel, to claim the land the gods reveal. Each verse of the song is a step in that journey, a reminder that all who live in Skyrim walk in the shadow of those who came before. Even now, when the wind howls over the tundra, the people say it is Ysgramor's breath, urging them to remember where they began, the tale of Whiterun's founding. Another story, quieter, older still, tells of the land itself. Long before the walls of Whiterun were raised, before the companions built Jorrvaskr, this place was only open plain, a vast sea of grass and light. The Nords who settled here believed that the wind itself chose the spot. When they tried to build elsewhere, the storms tore their huts apart. But here, in the center of the plain, the wind softened and the fires burned steady. They took it as a sign from Kinnereth, that here, between earth and sky, life would endure. And so they built their homes, not from conquest, but from patience. The first stones of Whiterun were laid not by kings, but by farmers and wanderers. They say that when the first hearth was lit, the flame bent with the wind, then steadied. A promise from the goddess that as long as the people remembered gratitude, their city would stand. The Ballad of Dragon's Reach. Every child in Whiterun knows the story of Dragon's Reach, how King Olaf One-Eye trapped a dragon within its walls. The bards tell it with fire and flourish, though the truth may be softer than the song. Still, the music endures, sung with the rhythm of the forge and the flicker of the hearth. Olaf the Bold, with one bright eye, called to the beast that ruled the sky. With roaring laugh and cunning word, he bound the fire, he caged the bird. In some versions, Olaf slays the dragon, his axe shining like the sun. In others, he speaks to it, and through their conversation, earns its respect. Perhaps both are true in their own way, for the Nord belief has always been that victory can come not just from strength, but from courage, even the courage to understand. When the song ends, the fire crackles and silence follows. And for a heartbeat, those who listen almost believe they can hear wings far above the clouds, of gods and ghosts. Whiterun's people speak of their gods as if they were neighbors. Kinnereth, who moves through the breeze, Talos, whose voice once shook mountains, and Shor, the father of the afterlife, who waits in Sovngarde for all worthy souls. But not all voices in Whiterun's nights belong to gods. There are ghosts, too, echoes of the past that never quite faded. They say that on certain nights, when the moon is thin and the air is clear, you can hear footsteps on the steps of Dragon's Reach long after the guards have gone. Slow, deliberate, heavy. The sound of old kings walking paths they once ruled. In Jorrvaskr, the companions tell of Kodlak Whitemane, whose spirit still watches over them. Some claim to have seen him in their dreams, standing beside a great fire, smiling, his eyes filled with peace. When they wake, the hall's hearth burns brighter than before. They take it as a sign that the Harbinger's wisdom still lingers, guiding them toward the courage he sought in life. The tale of the Skyforge. No story of Whiterun is complete without the Skyforge, the oldest forge in all Skyrim, older even than the city itself. It stands beside Jorrvaskr, its flames never extinguished, its metal always pure. The companions believe it was built by the gods, or perhaps found by them. Some say Yorland Greymane, its master smith, was chosen by the forge itself, for none can match his craft. It is said that weapons forged beneath its fire are not merely tools of war, but extensions of the warrior's spirit. When Yorland hammers steel upon the anvil, the sound carries across the plains like thunder. He does not speak as he works, he listens. To him, the forge is alive. It sings, it hums, it remembers, and in its song lies the soul of Whiterun, strong, enduring, and pure as tempered iron, the lament of the Gildergreen. There is one song in Whiterun that few sing aloud. It is not played by bards or shouted in taverns. It is whispered softly like a prayer beneath the dying leaves of the Gildergreen. No one knows who wrote it, though the melody feels ancient, as if it had been born from the wind itself. Once we bloomed in golden light, under sky both calm and bright. Now we sleep, but not in vain, for life shall rise from leaf again. The song carries no sorrow, only peace, a faith that even in death, life endures. Danica Pure Spring teaches the children to hum it when the wind grows still, to remind them that endings are only beginnings wearing different faces. Sometimes, when the city sleeps, the melody drifts through the streets, carried by the breeze. It mingles with the rustle of banners and the faint clang of a distant forge, becoming part of the endless song that is Whiterun itself. The Bard's Flame. In the bannered mare, as night deepens and the fire burns low, the bard takes his place near the hearth. His name changes with the years, Mikael or someone after him, but the song remains. The lute hums softly, the voices fade. What he plays now is not a tale of heroes, but of home. Oh, sing no more of kings or war, the heart grows tired of old lore. Sing instead of hearth and field, of love that wounds, but also heals. It is said that this song came to a bard in a dream, that he woke one night to find his lute glowing faintly by the fire. He played, and the flames danced higher, and in that moment, every soul in the tavern felt lighter. Some swore they saw shadows of those long gone standing at the edge of the firelight, smiling. Whether true or not, the song endures, sung softly, in every home where the heart longs for rest. The Wind's Refrain. The Nords believe that every place in Skyrim has its own song, not one of words, but of sound and silence. Whiterun's song is made of wind and fire, of laughter and loss. It is heard in the creak of the city gates, the ring of the blacksmith's hammer, the howl of wolves far on the tundra. It is a song that never ends, only changes its rhythm. The old bards say that when you die, if your spirit is true, you hear that song again, clearer than ever before. It carries you to Sovngarde, where the sky burns with eternal dawn, and the mead never runs dry. But some say that the luckiest souls never leave Whiterun at all. They linger in the wind, in the whisper of grass beneath the walls, in the warmth of the hearth that has outlasted 100 winters. They say that is Kinnereth's final gift, not immortality, but belonging. To be remembered not as a hero or legend, but as part of the song. So when the night grows long and the world feels heavy, the people of Whiterun return to their stories. They speak them softly, sing them slowly, and let them drift into the air, trusting that the wind will carry them where they are needed most. For in the end, what are legends but the dreams of a city that refuses to forget? And in those dreams, Whiterun lives on. The night is still again. The fires in the streets have dimmed to embers, and the wind moves gently through the sleeping city. From the high walls of Whiterun, the land stretches endlessly. Fields silvered by moonlight, rivers glimmering like threads of glass, the mountains watching in their silent vigil. Above it all, the stars shimmer, bright, cold, eternal, and the air is filled with a quiet so deep it feels sacred. This is Whiterun, as it has always been, calm, breathing, alive. A city not of conquest, but of constancy, a place that belongs equally to gods and to men. The torch by Dragon's Reach flickers softly. Inside the hall, the great fire burns low, its glow reflecting off the wooden beams that have stood for centuries. Jarl Balgruuf sits alone, his throne empty of ceremony, his crown heavy not with jewels, but with thought. He has seen his city through storms and wars, through glory and regret. Now, he watches the flames and wonders at the balance of it all, how the same fire that destroys can also warm. He says nothing, for there is nothing left to say. Outside, the night whispers for him. It carries the distant laughter of a guard at his post, the quiet breath of a child dreaming beside a hearth, the hum of wind through the cracks of old stone. Each sound is a heartbeat of the city, soft, steady, unending. Down below, the Plains District lies still. The marketplace is empty, its stalls covered, its coins resting silent in drawers. Belethor's shop stands dark, its shelves lined with trinkets from 100 journeys. Arcadia's potions sleep in their glass bottles, the colors faint in the dim light. The bannered mare has gone quiet, save for the gentle sigh of a dying ember and the soft rhythm of someone breathing in their sleep. Even in silence, Whiterun speaks. Its walls creak with age, its roofs settle with the cold. It is the kind of quiet that feels full, not of absence, but of presence. Every sound, every stillness, every sigh of wind feels like a story resting between heartbeats. In the Wind District, beneath the open sky, the Gildergreen stands motionless. Its branches, bare yet defiant, stretch upward toward the stars. The air around it feels charged like a breath drawn in, but not yet released. Danica Purespring stands before it, her cloak pulled tight, her lips moving in silent prayer. No one hears the words, but perhaps they are not meant to be heard. For prayer, in its truest form, is not about sound. It is about remembering that silence is also sacred. The goddess listens, as she always has, not with ears, but with wind. A faint breeze stirs the branches. One leaf flutters free, glows faintly, and drifts downward. It lands softly at Danica's feet, a final answer to a question never spoken aloud. She smiles, her breath visible in the cold. "The wind still moves," she whispers. And for her, that is enough. Farther up the hill, Jorvaskar's fire still burns. The companions sleep within their hall. Warriors, heroes, wanderers. In their dreams, they walk among the stars of Sovngarde, shoulder to shoulder with Isgramor and the 500 companions. But the fire here never dies. It hums quietly, low and steady, like a pulse. Perhaps it is the forge in the Skyforge, singing softly through the night, or perhaps it is the heart of Whiterun itself, old and unbroken. In the silence, a faint sound echoes, the soft creak of leather, the whisper of steel. A spirit stirs. Maybe it is Kodlak Whitemane, still watching over his kin, or perhaps it is only the wind through the hall, but the feeling it leaves is the same. That honor once kindled is a flame that never truly fades. Outside the walls, the white river flows endlessly under the stars. Its current glimmers like a line of light drawn through darkness. It has carried the prayers of countless souls, from warriors washing the blood from their hands to children floating flower crowns upon its surface in midsummer joy. Now it carries only silence, and yet, in that silence, there is peace. Somewhere along its bank, an old man kneels. He dips his hands into the cold water and closes his eyes. His breath comes slow and deep. He does not ask for anything, not forgiveness, not fortune, not even tomorrow. He only listens. The river's voice is quiet, but it speaks a truth older than words, that life flows on, with or without witness. That to live, to love, to lose, and to endure, these are the true acts of divinity. Above it all, the throat of the world rises, dark, immense, eternal. Its peak disappears into the clouds, its base cradling the land like a sleeping god. From Whiterun, it seems almost close enough to touch. The people look to it and see many things: strength, mystery, destiny. Some say that if you listen closely at night, you can hear it hum, the sound of creation itself, echoing through time. Perhaps that hum is what holds Whiterun together. Perhaps it is what draws the wind, the fire, and the people into harmony. A reminder that even in chaos, there is always something constant, something that does not fall or fade. In the deepest hours of the night, Whiterun feels weightless, suspended between worlds. Not awake, not asleep, the torches flicker like fading stars, and the cold light of Masser and Secunda, the twin moons, spills gently across the rooftops. It is in this hour that Skyrim feels most ancient, most alive. And Whiterun, at its center, glows like an ember in the dark. Every city in Skyrim has its legend: Solitude with its spires, Windhelm with its frost, Riften with its shadows. But Whiterun's legend is quieter. It is not written in scrolls or carved into stone. It lives in breath, in warmth, in the simple act of enduring. It is the story of a people who refuse to let the wind carry them away. If you could stand above the city and listen, truly listen, you would hear it. Not the noise of the day nor the cries of war, but the deeper sound beneath it all, the hum of life. It is the blacksmith's hammer, the market's murmur, the laughter in the bannered mare, the prayer in the temple, the lullaby sung to a sleeping child, all of it blending into one endless rhythm, the rhythm of Whiterun, the rhythm of Skyrim itself. And when that rhythm slows, when the last ember dims and the wind grows still, it begins again. For the land never sleeps, not truly. It only dreams. And in those dreams, the stories continue, whispered by gods and ghosts alike. Dawn approaches. The sky begins to pale, streaked with the faintest blush of gold. The first light touches the banners on the walls, turning them into rivers of fire. The city stirs. A door creaks open, a dog barks, a rooster calls from a distant farm. Smoke rises from the chimneys, thin and blue. And somewhere, a child yawns and smiles, still half in dreams. The sun crests the horizon, and Whiterun wakes. Not to trumpets or drums, but to the soft rustle of the wind through the Gildergreen and the gentle crackle of rekindled fires. The people rise, they stretch, they breathe, they begin again. And so the cycle continues, day into night, night into day, season after season, generation after generation. Whiterun endures because it belongs to no one and to everyone. It is the pause between breaths, the stillness between storms, a place where the past and present walk hand in hand, where gods and mortals share the same sky. It has burned, and it has healed, it has wept, and it has laughed, and still it stands, proud, patient, and eternal. And as the fires of Dragon's Reach flicker through the night, the city sleeps, dreaming of heroes long past and of mornings yet to come. Whiterun, the heart of Skyrim, the hearth of its people, the breath of its gods. A city not built upon conquest, but upon endurance, not upon power, but upon peace. And long after its walls have turned to dust and the wind has carried its name across the tundra, its spirit will remain. In the warmth of every fire, in the whisper of every breeze, in the heartbeat of every soul that dares to dream beneath the northern sky.